with you all today. I was asked, to prepare a few slides as well for the keynote. So it's just to give you a brief, background of what's IFIN, why I'm moving to Istanbul. I'm actually joining the club. This club seems to be getting bigger and bigger by the day. People are moving from all around the world to Istanbul, and I'm just one of them, and a very proud one. So, if we can have the control for the slides, please. Slides. Right. So what's IFIN? It's actually about meeting the challenges that Islamic financial institutions are meeting in general. And this is not in Turkey, this is actually everywhere in the world that we see. The first and the foremost is actually having access to high volume and high yield market segments. Islamic financial institutions are actually struggling to penetrate into many of them. This is where the value lies, the consumer segment, the SMEs, the agriculture, etc. They are almost inexistent or very, very small in Islamic financial institutions. Also, the adequacy of their products and the required infrastructure. That will mean the product structure itself, the networks, the support, etc. that will be required, to make things work is just not there. The costs are very high due to complex processes and procedures that these financial institutions they use, and the human resource and time consumption in order to execute those products and to fulfill those, meet those procedures. There's a lot of paperwork as well involved as well. And because of all this, there's a lack of competitiveness. So a very general, allegation on Islamic financial institutions that besides being not very good in service, they are actually more expensive. And there are reasons for that because, I have listed some of those. These are the things that contribute towards, these banks being more expensive. So they are not, competitive between them, and they are not competitive at all most of the time with conventional. Because there is high cost, low volume, and restricted playing field. And then also there is this question of effective management of Sharia compliance risk, exposure in the wider market activities. So the more they engage with the different parties, which is an inherent result of doing a proper Islamic finance, that means that the Sharia non-compliance risk is also increasing. The exposure becomes difficult to manage, and it has its own consequences as well. So all these things, they actually culminate into two major problems for the stakeholders of Islamic financial industry, and they are growth and sustainability. So how do we grow these financial institutions, and how do we make them more sustainable? So this is where IFIN comes into place, into the picture. And as banking as a service solution, this is what we have been termed as by the Turkish regulators, BDDK. So they have given us the status of banking as a service solution. So it's a first of its kind Sharia compliant FinTech. I call it M3 digital solution. What's M3? It's multi suppliers of finance. That could be banks, financial institutions, leasing companies, etc. Multiple products. It's not about murabaha. On IFIN, you can do all sorts of Islamic products, and it's also multi other parties, including retailers or SMEs or agricultural stakeholders, and so on and so forth. So this three module of multi is actually our model, which is very unique until now. What it does is that the customers of these Islamic financial institutions, they'll be able to obtain finance for their desired items, whether they are consumers or in future when they are going to be the SMEs or other stakeholders, they will be able to have Islamic Sharia compliant finance instantly. So instant is actually the the key word here. How do we do that? By linking Islamic banks or Islamic financial institutions with retailers, SMEs, corporates, and regulators. So all of them we bring together on the platform. And we provide an enabling technology. So it's not a disruptive fintech, it's actually an enabling fintech, right? It helps the industry. We are not going to cause any harm to the existing Islamic financial institutions. We are actually going to help them a lot. We are going to help them tremendously to grow and to become sustainable and inshallah be more competitive as well. And how do we do that? By simply digitalizing their existing products and workflows. So again, they're not required to take any products from us or use our procedures. We will just digitalize everything that they're already doing. So it's, you know, the digital version of their existing activity. Now what does it mean? Effectively, it means that within our system we have a built-in automated credit decision engine. So the algorithms, they work and in real time they communicate with the bank, with the retailer, with the credit bureau, with other, you know, agencies and so on. And they crunch all the data to provide you know, a decision for approval of finance within 20 seconds. So the minute the button is hit by the, you know, for the query, within 20 seconds you will get the answer yes or no. And if it's a question, or if it's yes, then it's just a question of 10 minutes, just printing the agreements, signing, and off you go. You don't need to go to the bank anymore. You don't need to go to any branch. You can just walk into any retailer as consumer, and in future we are working on an SME solution where, you know, the supply chain financing and other types of SME financing shall be executed 24/7 on this platform without the need of moving anyone. So this is a cloud-based system, and we work with API integration with the, you know, the bank's core banking system. Every financial institution will own, you know, the product that they have, and they will use their own workflows, their own credit policy, and their own Sharia governance. So we have got nothing to do with it. The system is made purposely for Sharia compliant financing. It does not recognize interest or FIs, so it will not be able to, you know, do any conventional transaction. And also all the structures are embedded within the system, so in accordance with IOFI, you know, Sharia standards or rulings, or the rulings of, you know, the local National Sharia Board, for example, here in Turkey, the system will be parameterized according to that, and the system will not allow any transaction to take place or to complete if it's not in accordance with the, you know, the requirements. And then, of course, there is security protocol, and the IFI will have full control over, you know, over the system. So this is the snapshot of our first product that we have already launched in, you know, in Oman, and now, you know, launching in Turkey very soon, inshallah. So this is our consumer financing, you know, solution. And what you see here is, you know, in the middle there is iFin, the secure platform, and on this side of, you know, the screen, you see multiple financial institutions. They can be participation banks, of course, you know, in Turkey, but there may be in future, you know, other institutions, and in other countries we have leasing companies, we have finance companies, etc., etc. They're already there. Then in the middle you see, you know, these products. So this is what I call the, you know, the multi-product module. So where you can do murabha, you can do istisna, you can do ijara, you can do service ijara, and so on and so forth. And then on the other side of the platform, the third module is where you see actually different types of suppliers, which could be the car showrooms, the white and brown goods, you know, suppliers, kitchen manufacturers. You can also integrate healthcare providers, you know, events management, and, you know, educational institution, traveling, tourism, and so on and so forth. So anything that may potentially require any financing can be actually integrated here. The only thing is that the transaction, the financing will be done in a Sharia compliant way. So this solution is not only just a platform. This is actually more than a, you know, a digital platform, where we also provide, which is very important, you know, this is an integral part of our offer, that once any financial institution signs up to our system, they are not required actually to lift a finger, go anywhere in the market. We will do onboarding, iFin will do onboarding of all the stakeholders who will be joining the platform, whether they are retailers, whether they are SMEs, whether they are corporations as anchor, you know, corporations, you know, for supply chain finance, and other parties like credit bureau and so on and so forth. So everybody will be done, you know, we will do the due diligence, we will vet them, we will, you know, onboard them. They will be on the system, the banks will simply do the business. So we just free up the time, we free up the resource for the, you know, financial institutions to focus on what they are good at. And we take the rest of, you know, the charge from them. And what is more, So this we have named as Tasir, and what is more that there are two further solutions that are in progress. So the first one, or the second one that's going to be, is the SME financing. This is in development, inshallah will be launched very soon. And then very innovative, this is in planning now, but not yet in development, but very soon, inshallah, we'll put that in development, will be agriculture financing as well. So again, this is going to be a groundbreaking, inshallah, solution. How do we create value? Very simple. I mentioned two major issues, growth and sustainability. This is what we focus at. How we get there? By providing access to high volume, high value customer segments to the financial institutions, okay? We provide them with a wider customer outreach, so they will have access to customer wherever the customer is. So they are not anymore waiting for the customer to walk into the branch. They don't need any branches anymore. Also wider business hours, so as far as the business is being done outside, they are making money. And then customer acquisition, and of course customer loyalty as well. So this is how we provide growth to them. How do we make them sustainable? By creating higher capital efficiency, higher yield on their customer, because obviously, their cost is going to be significant less. The customer acquisition, the execution of the transaction, all sorts of, their fixed cost is going to be reduced significantly. That will increase their competitiveness, not between the participation banks or the Islamic financial institutions, but more and with conventional. So our objective is actually make Islamic financial institutions better than the conventional. This is what I think a couple of panelists have already mentioned this, that we have to be better. We have to give a better model. So we are moving towards that, inshallah. And what that will mean will be there will be more profitability and there will be better risk management as well for the financial institutions. That's how we help them becoming more sustainable as well. Very briefly, our structure. So there are two companies behind IFIN. The founding partners is IFAS. I'm actually the group CEO of IFAS. It's a pretty well-known Islamic finance professional consultancy in the industry with a very long track record of, alhamdulillah, 15 years of being in business and completing projects in more than 51 different jurisdictions. We also have Path Solutions, our technology partner, who are the largest core banking system providers in the industry. So these two companies that are veterans of the industry, they have actually come together as the founding partners, and they own jointly IFIN, that is actually based in Bahrain. So our head office is in Bahrain. And then we have already a live operation in Oman through IFIN Oman. And the second one now coming into, inshallah, we are already operational. So we have IFIN Digital Çözümler Onun Şirketi here in Turkey. And we are going to be live, inshallah, hopefully in Q2 of 2022 in Turkey, inshallah. And then before the end of the year, we also have IFIN UAE and IFIN Saudi Arabia, inshallah, coming live as well. So that's the plan, and obviously, the expansion continues. We have already received more than $100,000 US in 2 different awards, industry awards. So alhamdulillah, it has been recognized and it has been rewarded. And that's it pretty much. We are making an effort to make Islamic finance faster, cheaper, safer, and smarter for everyone. Thank you. Any questions? I'm more than happy to take.
Thank you very much, Brother Farouk Raza. Wonderful presentation, very exciting.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone. My name is Dr. Muhammad Anwar. I'm an Islamic finance specialist, passionate about technology and innovation. I'm thrilled to help Islamic financial institutions to overcome their challenges in outreaching new clients and in designing for them innovative products contributing towards their well-being. For this noble objective, my team and I come up with a game-changer solution, sharpen the future of financial well-being. I would like to link my speech to the visuals, so sorry for that. So my team and I, alhamdulillah, finally come up with a game changer solution, sharpen the future of financial well-being and shifting the industry of Islamic finance from the open banking to open finance. That's why I'm here today to present you Payday Takaful solution. Payday Takaful solution is an innovative solution, a technology partner to banks, to microfinance, to insurance company, and to corporation as well, aiming to empower workforces through a unique Sharia compliant FinTech solution and Takaful solution. So allow me please to tell you the story from its origin. Employers today are facing a great challenge on how to remain their workforces motivated and productive. As per the recent statistics by PwC in 2021, they show that 92% of the workforces are coming across financial distress, where more than 50% of them are in need and seeks for financial help. However, their employers cannot afford them such kind of financial help or advance on their salary given the financial and administrative burden. Given they have no access to their earned wage, given the absence of a tailored and fair financial solution, so they have no choice except to get indebted and to enter into the vicious cycle of debt, which is very excessive. So employees and workforces end up by being unmotivated to work or going through an extreme measures to add extra work, extra hours, so they are unmotivated in a way to impact the productivity of their employers. So Payday Takaful came as a solution for this problem. It resolves the problem of workforce stability and productivity from its roots. It's like an action to this call. By providing employees the needed coverage they need to overcome their financial distress before the payday through a unique Sharia compliant technology solution or Takaful and FinTech solution without impacting their employers' business cash flow or getting the employers into a financial and administrative hassle. So we are unique in the market in a way that we are a fully Sharia compliant. We are offering employees an instant access to their earned wage coupled with a Takaful, micro Takaful coverage and not a purely debt bucket debt or loan bucket to interest rate. So they are avoiding excessive borrowing. We are putting them in a comfort zone. We are providing them the financial well-being, the financial stability in a way to be more productive. So for that reason, we are developing a mobile app, so serving this employee as one-stop shop where they can easily onboard, they can easily select their micro Takaful bundle, they can upgrade in the Takaful bundle, they can trace and track their advance on salary, they can manage their financial in a fully digital manner. We are opening them a connection between them and the insurers in a way there is any claim, so they can write down the claims directly to the insurance through a user-friendly, secured, and easy access mobile app. We didn't forget the employer as well, so we have developed a web platform for the employer in a way they can manage in a holistic, with a holistic view of financial control. They can approve the advance on payment. They can benefit from a wide range of statistics through Payday Takaful. So I invite you, you are kindly invited to watch this use case, a real use case of Payday Takaful now. The sound, please.
To do their best work, and because their financial stability is one of the main reasons they are punctual and performing, presenting them with financial flexibility is in your best interest. The unpredictable nature of life.
In a way they get into the acceleration, into the agenda of financial, digital agenda acceleration. So these are in a way the value added of payday Takaful, whether on the employer and the employee side. So we are keeping the employee, giving them in every day as a payday. So we inshallah intended to launch in Tunis in the upcoming weeks, inshallah in Tunisia, then in Oman, so and inshallah in Turkey before the end of this year. And if you have any question, I'm here to answer, please.
Thank you very much. This is a beautiful, beautiful product.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be here with all of you today, and thank you for inviting me to speak and officially launch AtisX, a global crowdfunding platform. They say that sky's the limit, but the hard truth is that in most cases, this rings true only when you have the funds to pursue your dreams. Imagine a world where you have the chance to pitch your brilliant, game-changing ideas and the good that you want to do for the society to a large pool of investors, no matter where they are, no matter who they are. Then we can truly say that sky's the limit. Out there are a number of aspiring entrepreneurs with great ideas and solutions, most of whom are untapped and hidden from view for the lack of platforms upon which to showcase their projects and secure financial support for these ideas, solutions, and inventions to take shape and materialize. It is true that microfinancing and crowdfunding is not a new concept and have been around for many years to support micro businesses and startups, but the lack of accessibility and structured avenues had limited its use and reachability to the mainstream. With the evolution of FinTech, microfinancing and crowdfunding have taken many shapes and forms into what we refer today as bankers of the future. At this group of companies ride on the FinTech evolution and attempts to address this gap and the overlooked segment of entrepreneurs and businesses by providing crowdfunding platforms to matchmake companies and investors. With its humble beginning as a private club founded by Brother Umar Abdullah Munshi, he's here, Atis, a term which is derived from the combination of ethics and Islam, had developed into a group of companies operating ethical investment and social finance platforms, and established a significant presence in Malaysia as an equity crowdfunding platform operator, in Indonesia as a peer-to-peer crowdfunding platform operator, as well as at its own global Sadaqah platform, matching donors and charity organizations. As a testimony to the success of Atis Group, we had become a recognized and award-winning service provider and named the best Islamic crowdfunding platform in the world 2021 by the Awards Committee of the Islamic Retail Banking Awards. Having gone through a challenging journey and exponential learning curve, we are proud and blessed today to say that Atis Group had reached a major, a unique, and the first of its kind milestone with the birth of AtisX, the cross-border ethical private capital marketplace. AtisX is operated by Atis Investment Platform Limited Liability Company, an entity established in the Sultanate of Oman and licensed by the Oman Capital Market Authority to take advantage of the Sultanate's regulatory framework catering to the FinTech industry, the vision and initiatives of the Sultanate to drive the industry, and Oman's strategic location. AtisX, or as the logo suggests, Atis to the power of X, represents our growth, our aspiration for growth, and extension of the Atis Group going global. We have grown into an over 80-strong team workforce comprising amazing talents from all over the world, with various backgrounds, ethnicities, skills, languages, and nationalities, working together and alongside each other. With AtisX, the world is our oyster, and we are already in discussions with potential partners and companies globally, lining up landmark and first-of-its-kind projects. Surely, in operating a cross-border platform, we foresee a handful of tasks and challenges, but inshallah, backed by our very capable team and numerous brainstorming sessions to find innovative structures and solutions, and working alongside our partners and advisors, we believe that we will overcome the hurdles, difficulties, and challenges, and make a truly global crowdfunding platform not only achievable in theory, but also in reality. We abide by the saying that when life throws you lemons, you make lemonade. Being one of the pioneers of Sharia-compliant crowdfunding, we are committed to implement Sharia principles throughout all aspects of our operations, in form and in substance. This flows through in the assessments of our partners, issuers, and projects. Not only being Sharia-compliant a differentiating factor for ATIS-X, we go a step further and establish ourselves as a proponent of impactful, sustainable businesses and social enterprises. Through ATIS-X, we continue our commitment to offering direct Sharia-compliant investments into startups, scale-ups, SME companies, and special purpose vehicle projects from around the globe. We seek projects with social impact so that the community as a whole will be able to enjoy the benefits of investments. This is in line with our focus to #CirculateGood, and where we believe in disseminating the good through others and showcase impactful deals that the community can benefit from. Our exciting agenda includes seeking partnership through franchise or joint venture arrangements with companies from around the world who intend to own and operate crowdfunding platforms but lack the infrastructures, systems, and expertise. We believe in sharing our resources and are more than happy to start conversations with interested parties and start to build something meaningful together. At this event today, we feel truly blessed to be able to share this important milestone in our journey with a community of leaders, major players, and experts who will shape the future of the Islamic FinTech industry. In a world where bias, prejudice, and double standards against Islam and Muslims still exist, we aspire to be a beacon of hope and a leading example that regardless of our differences, doing good is always an option. With that note, and in the name of Allah, we are humbled to announce the launching and unleashing of ATIS-X to the world, the first Islamic, ethical, sustainable, and impactful cross-border private capital marketplace. We are also honored to announce our partnership with Dinar Tech Private Limited, founded by our very own brother Khalid Fuad, to pursue crowdfunding opportunities in Turkey and other promising markets. I take this opportunity to express our thanks and gratefulness to the Oman Capital Market Authority for its constant support, our board members, senior management, partners, advisors, and most importantly, our amazing team who have worked relentlessly and tirelessly, without whom we would not have reached this stage. On that note, please enjoy our short video presentation. Jazakallah khairan, and thank you everyone for your attention.
For joining us. We have the next panel discussion, which will cover the rise of neobanks and the challenges they face in terms of cybersecurity. So, and a very exciting topic. You know, in the last 10 years, we've seen banking technology really change a huge amount, and it's allowed us to really progress the banking industry. I mean, it's come off so far, like in the UK, for example, where I live. 2 weeks ago, I sold my car, and the gentleman handed me a check. And I was just, you know, it was like a bizarre feeling to have a check in this day and age, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I took the check, I went into the branch, and the branch, I kid you not, was deserted. You know, there was nobody in there, just 1 or 2 people working behind the desk. So they processed my check. And then later on, I was told that even my check, I could have processed it using my online banking app. So that's how far, you know, we've come. And it's thanks to neobanks who really progressed and advanced this type of technology. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Shahid Munir. I'm one of the founders of a UK-based FinTech called Minted. And what we do at Minted is we allow people to buy and sell precious metals like gold using a web-based platform, a mobile app, and where you'll be able to go on, register very simply, and be able to buy physical gold from Minted. We buy direct from a refinery, so we take care of all the logistics, so customers can be rest assured that they are getting 100% backed asset that you can buy and sell anytime using our mobile application. So I'll move on to the panel I have here with me today and my fellow panelists. So humbled to be sitting with, powerhouses in the FinTech industry. So we'll start with some short introductions, if you may, about yourselves and the company. We'll keep it short because obviously we're quite short on time. But yeah, we'll start with Murad from Kalendi.
Thank
Welcome.
you very much. There you go. Welcome. This is Murat Cansoy from Kalendi. I'm participating in behalf of Bülent Tekmen. Unfortunately, he's feeling sick due to COVID. I will be attending instead of him. For the last 2 years, I have been in the FinTech industry, operating as the Chief Product Officer of Kalendi. Kalendi is constantly developing this FinTech marketplace, aiming to turn every company into FinTech companies. We have this vision that each company, especially the mega corporations, will be serving their customers with incremental banking services and other financial services. We currently see this trend ongoing globally, and we also see it that in the local economy it's happening as well. We currently serve more than 5 million customers in Turkey, and more than 5 blue chip partners helping us do that.
Wonderful, thank you. And Dora here from Aleph.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. It's actually a huge pleasure to be back to Istanbul. I spent my university years here at Boğaziçi University, a great time about 15 years ago. After that, did a couple years in investment banking and in consulting, and went back to Tajikistan, my home country, in 2012. And initially we wanted to build an Islamic bank. So we tried knocking on many doors, and no one really believed the idea, no one invested with us. So we just gathered whatever we had, 3 of us with 2 of my dear friends, Zulshor Ahmatloyev, Firdaus Mirzoev. We went for the smallest license possible, microfinance license, with Sharia compliance in mind. And since then, in the 8 years that passed, alhamdulillah, we've been able to grow to more than 900 people in our team. We're serving about 1 million clients. Our run rate revenue is about $36 million. We finally got our full-fledged banking license 2 years ago. We even expanded successfully, alhamdulillah, to a neighboring country, to Uzbekistan. We got a FinTech company there. And in both markets, we're right now providing a number of technology-driven services. So buy now, pay later, we have about 95% of the market in Tajikistan, about 35% in Uzbekistan. We are the leaders in both markets. Mobile payments, we have about 50% of the market in Tajikistan, and just launched in Uzbekistan as well. And mobile remittances. We're not leaders there yet, but we're trying hard. We have our own IT, tech, the whole banking stack of technology, from core banking system to mobile solutions to payment gateways. Everything is built in-house. We have about 170 people in our IT team. Last year we did a round valuing Alif at about $100 million. Today our shares are traded about $200 million. And thing that makes us most proud is, alhamdulillah, we've been voted as the most trusted bank in Tajikistan last year. And now our vision is to build a global champion in Islamic FinTech through our efforts in finance, technology, and education. And right now we're trying to enter Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and the UAE as part of that effort. Thank you so much. It's a huge pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dora. Just briefly moving on to Rasul Bey.
Okay. Bismillah. This is Brother Rasul, and once more, welcome to the Istanbul as a Turkish citizen here. And it's really nice to have this distinguished guest from different countries, different parts of the world. And I am trying to lead a high-skilled and really strong R&D team and company, which name is the ProSen Digital Security, focused for the securing the financial data, the transactions, the general data, or any data of the companies or the persons in the digital life and the digital world. And today, mostly, I will try to address what is the cybersecurity challenge in aspect of the data security for the fintechs or for the neobanks in the new area. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So we can start our discussions with Murad from Kalendi. So there's in FinTech that you'll find there's a phrase that tends to be thrown around on the internet, which is that every company will eventually become a FinTech company. And, this is a phrase which baffles most people, because, like, how does a truck haulage company become a fintech company? It doesn't. And so, is that something that you can explain to us?
Of course, of course. The term first popped up in 2017. It's the general trend that every company will be a fintech company, because the corporations are in a better position to serve their own customers, not only the end customers, but also the B2B customers in a better way. They each have fintech needs. They already developed inside their corporation fintech solutions. Now we are seeing the trend that banks are also entering this industry, and in a way to serve as the infrastructure providers. In Colendi, we are working to accelerate this process. So what we mean by that every company will be a fintech company is that we eventually believe that every person and every corporation will become members of a global economy, and not so there is this term unbanked or underbanked will eventually evaporate, and it will not cease to exist because each day we use digital money, or we will be using decentralized technologies. Each of these technologies are available for everybody use. It's in a matter of say, it's democratized already. It's just taking some time to get there, actually.
Wonderful. I think Murad mentioned a very critical point there, which is that every company is better served to serving their own customers. And by use of technology these days, we have access to technologies via APIs, where any product can almost become a fintech by leveraging these type of technologies. So fantastic. So very much staying with coming onto the neobanking space. So what we've seen, the incumbent banks have been around for, almost over a century. So they're synonymous with trust, and people trust them a lot. Now, being a new entrant, a relatively new entrant into the market as a neobank, how do you find that you can develop that trust and build that trust of the customers? And before you answer, I'd like to bring upon a stat which I saw from the World Economic Forum, which is 28% of millennials and Gen Zs don't actually trust their incumbent banks right now, which I think is reflective of the popularity of neobanks. So what is it that neobanks are doing so well? So, to Abdullah.
Which one?
Yes, to Abdullah, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. And when we say neobanks, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is technology, right? And technology is indeed important. It's about data security, it's about user experience, it's about the speed, the convenience. But when it comes to building trust, I want to argue that it's first and foremost about values, much more than it is about technology. Values like transparency, like winning the hearts of clients, building a team that takes ownership for the company. And let me give you some examples. So with transparency, for example, Alif has been very transparent, not only about our successes, but also about our failures. We've been transparent about the audits that are done by the central bank. So, they come and they audit us, and we put out the results. We say, whether we agree or we disagree, we put them out. We say, this is what the central bank has found, whether, this is what we, want to do about this. And the next year, when they come again, we report the results. And this has been unprecedented. In the 30 years of independent banking in Tajikistan, no banks have ever talked about their failures or about the third-party reviews and so on. So transparency is one. Second is winning the hearts of people, both online and offline. And online, it is actually encouraging and working with both happy and unhappy clients. It's soliciting feedback. It's being proactive in doing that. And our team really goes out of the way to make sure that clients are happy. And we've had many cases where our unhappy client had become our biggest advocate. Amazing. People going and giving flowers at their homes, surprising them, and it's really makes a big deal. And And the last thing, if you talk about how do you make sure that your team radiates those values, it's about uncompromisingly meritocratic process of hiring people, which is also very tough and challenging in our part of the world where everyone wants to get people in through relatives and so on. But being very meritocratic in that, doing no exceptions, and actually giving them ownership for the company, letting them free, let them open their wings and be themselves, surprise clients, and give them ownership. Literally, like in Alif's case, we've given 25% of the company is separated to be distributed among the people in Alif. And 200 employees of ours this month, start of this month, became shareholders in the company. So coming back, I think it's more about values than it's about technology when you talk about trust. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Awesome. So, a very valid point made there about getting people involved and making them feel involved, which probably has not been the case in the past. And one thing that you'll find that neobanks do really well is their communication, via whether it's social media or via all the other channels. It's very effective and it's very regular in comparison to. And do you feel that's because your target market is the Gen Z millennials, or do you feel that's what they respond to better?
And yes, our sort of the first movers, what do you call them? Those people who initially get your service, they are millennials. They are those 20 to 30-year-old mainly people, but more and more they bring their parents. Their parents bring their neighbors. It's all about, and it expands over time. And a lot of those people are, getting used to social media and
Wonderful.
Getting engaged.
Thank you. Rasul, coming on to yourself. So a topic which I feel most people find scary, it's cybersecurity, right? And it's one of the most challenging aspects of the modern day era, be any business, but even more so with neobanks, because you have holding financial data, very sensitive data. So you'll find that cybersecurity is now becoming a very important part and aspect of neobanking. But Rasul, I'd like to ask you, do you feel, what's the advantages of having an external cybersecurity company as opposed to operating an in-house team?
Yeah. Actually, maybe we need to start how we can define what is the asset in the digital life, or what is the asset of the neobanks or the user of neobanks in this new area. Let us make some simple benchmark, like what is the difference for the interfacing with customers, like as just you mentioned some experience from your real life. You sold your car and you took some check and you need to visit some branch and you need to interact some people physically, even these pandemics, and still it couldn't reach success. There is some problems need to be clarified. And this is the behaviors of the conventional banks or the old style banking. And what is the difference, or what are the neobanks are offering to the millennials, or still the X generation, Y generation, or other generations also, because there is no restriction. I think Mr. Abdullah will welcome also all those parts. We are changing the interface as a neobank entrepreneurs or the companies. We are changing, we are providing them some mobile app or web platform. And nowadays it's more coming familiar when we compare the mobile app and web platform. Companies are moving from the web platform to the mobile apps and trying to interface with their customers through mobile apps. And for each interaction, for each interfacing, there is a transaction, and each transaction means there is a data. And Mr. Abdullah mentioned the critical thing is the value. Yes, Mr. Murat mentioned the technology. It's like enabler, but to onboard or to keep that user as a like part of your company or part of your life, you need to show your respect to them. This is not only showing some respect during the interaction or during the transaction. you should show your respect to secure his or her data, because it's personal data. And people are taking care of their privacy. And there are lots of things, because we are asking the same question: if I will onboard this platform, then what will be I will face if there is any like data leak or some breach. And this is really critical area. And as a defender or as a technology provider, we are trying to defend the companies against the attackers. But it's very critical that attackers are more collaborating between them when we compare with the defender's side. They are easily sharing the knowledge, and they are easily establish some business models, even revenue sharing. You know, there is a ransomware as a service. Maybe we couldn't come and do together and reach some legal agreement. They will come some meeting and make some agreement, maybe starting from morning till noon, then they will start the operation. And this is the neobanks or the fintechs, they are dealing as an attacker. And this is not some specific area. They can build or they can establish some technical know-how and human resource. Mm-hmm. They can focus their own business logic, and they can give this abstract part, to some company which is accredited by like authorities, regulation bodies, or some security labs. And I think this is just only my opinion, but I think it's more efficient way to protect itself.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So keeping on that point of cybersecurity, how have you seen it change within your organization at Alif? From when you first started out, have you seen the threat of cybersecurity increase, and has that therefore increased your level of protection that you're having to now provide?
Yeah, it's a good question. The biggest problem, and you know, Mr. Rasool may agree, is increasingly becoming about social engineering, about protecting phishing and those sort of things. The more big and popular it become, the more your clients become a target for that. And in Tajikistan, we've had a number, you know, the last couple of years, like 5 years or so, has seen a dramatic growth in FinTech services. And we see people call, you know, for example, there's this website called Somontije. It's like a classifieds website, like Craigslist.com, you know. So you put an advertisement there, you say, I'm selling my bike. Someone calls you right away in like 10 minutes. They say, okay, I'm buying your bike. And, you know, they maybe haggle with you a little bit to make sure it feels real. And then they say, okay, I'm going to send you a link. And, you know, I'm actually I paid you. Go to that link and get your money. So people go to that link. It looks like web page of Somontije or even the bank. You know, they go through the process and they give all the information. They give their one-time passwords, you know, even sometimes their PIN code. Unfortunately, you know, we've tried a number of ways dealing with that. Education of clients is a always on process. You always have to educate people, always be, you know, proactively talking to them about these sort of challenges. But also, for example, what we're trying to do right now, and maybe this is something that Mr. Rasool can add to, it's we are trying to link up the application to the device. So, and there are a number of ways of doing this, you know, like if you try to do it through email, that's challenging because, you know, iOS wouldn't let you do that. They would take you a whole, you know, a very long time to approve. But you can find other ways to link up the device ID and make sure that if someone else downloads the app, they would not be able to sign that message with the hash that you have gotten from device ID. So those things are things we're trying and working on, and those things help.
Wonderful. So thank you for that. So now, as we know, neobanks typically connect up to a large number of third-party providers. And again, this poses a risk for cybersecurity because, you know, there's so many different applications out there these days. They're all plug and play. You know, you link up some code using some API, and before you know it, you're linked to a third party. So, Murad, if I can ask you a question, how do you mitigate against the risk of, you know, connecting a third party to your platform?
That's a hard question. Actually, there is a you have to first select your partners very well, because as Abdullah just mentioned, the phishing and social engineering part is the most vulnerable part. So the mitigation part is that you have to work with several parties in terms of security. In-house, most of the time, our partners have this in-house solution, and also we do in-house solution for security, but we regularly need several penetration testers, outsource both of the organization, so that we get a second-hand look at the system, overall system, and we usually don't stop there, and also hire these white hat hackers to hack the system actually. So even though it's not enough, so you always have to limit the casualties. So if account is promised, it should stay that way. So every service we provide is a microservice, and each microservice we provide is also micro architectured for each of our clients. So basically we work with telcos. They use the same microservice background, but they also have their own delimited zone for each connection part.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hope everyone found that useful. I'd like to open up the floor to questions, if anyone has any questions from the audience at all. No? Okay. I think, that's...
Sorry, I'm just trying to find out how much money is allocated in percentage term to your turnover to the cost of security.
The question is to...
The percentage of segment.
Well, I would have to get back to it's not something we kind of allocate that way. It's more of a, it is not budget way, it's more proactive way. This is the things that, we need to do. We look at the prices, we say, okay, fine, let's do this, and so on. But I can get back to you in terms of what it would make.
Wonderful. I think we had one more question out here at the front. Oh, sorry, there's a mic over there. Okay, we'll come back. Yeah, sure. Please, go ahead.
Okay. So do you anywhere or anyhow have a problem or issue with cybersecurity in your organization where you work or come? And how you solve the problem? Since the bank, as I work in Bosnia and Herzegovina, has had a really big cybersecurity issue with loss about more than 1 million euro euros on ATMs.
Right. So I think this comes back to the same concept of transparency and communication to your customers and clients. So has there ever been an instance where there has been a threat posed and you've made that public and communicated that out?
The question is to
Abdul.
Okay. Now, in our case, alhamdulillah, we have never lost a single penny on those sort of cases, clients' money. We have had issues. We have had DDoS attacks. We have had all kind of attacks. We have had, what else did we have? I mean, social engineering that I mentioned earlier. We have had cases in other banks in Tajikistan and with ATMs, as you mentioned. And maybe it has been a wave in all countries at one point of time, maybe some vulnerability. Back then, we weren't that active in this particular business line, in ATMs and cards. One thing that we're trying to do, for example, with vulnerable areas like internet banking for legal entities, we write we actually invested heavily in development of the security part. So it's not only secured by the standard, like making sure the channel is secure, but also the signing process itself goes through WebAssembly, which is a relatively new technology. It adds a certain additional hash to the signing process. We also want the second authorization not to be on SMS, which is becoming increasingly dangerous. I mean, if people here know, it's right now very easy to go online and get anyone's phone number and get an SMS coming to that. And that's a huge challenge. So we're having people to move to Google Authenticator, and things like this are helping.
Wonderful, thank you. I believe we have one last question at the front. If just the gentleman at the front, please, with the mic. Thank you.
Just a question specifically for you, Abdullah, but maybe Rasul can also chip in. Considering neobanks, you're not necessarily bound by the same regulations as conventional banks. And what I was thinking of was privacy or security by design. Is that something that you've considered? Are there any wins that you've been able to manage that maybe conventional privacy in the sense of what kind of data you collect and how you store it? Conventional banks obviously have a different system from a different age. Please.
Thank you for the question. Well, actually, in our case, in Tajikistan, there is no separate license for neobanks or digital banks. We have a traditional banking license, if you like, and we are subject to all the same laws and rules and regulations. What we do differently is we're a technology-first company. Everything we offer our clients is either mobile or earlier it was, through the internet. So our main distribution channel is online. And now we're entering Pakistan, for example. Inshallah, we're applying to the digital banking license there. So there, yes, there's a separate digital banking license and there's specific rules and regulations, and we're trying to look at, making sure like PCI DSS, whether you can store in cloud or data has to be in the service. And the way we wrote our software so that we can expand internationally quickly is that it's flexible to those requirements. Whether in a certain country everything has to be in that country or part of it can be in the cloud. And of course our preference is to put as much in the cloud as possible. So we made sure in designing and writing our software we make it specifically in a way which would allow those sort of variabilities in different regulations.
One thing you mentioned, for example, was phishing and social engineering. Now a lot of that is based on client data, what they can scrape and collect. And that's what I meant by privacy by design.
Okay. No, unfortunately, what happens is the most common user case is there's a classifieds website where someone sells something, they put their phone number. So that's the first line of, they call and say, I'm buying your goods. And they send them a link to a totally different website that looks like either the classified websites, and they, unfortunately, people put in willingly their own data. They it's like, I sent you the money to take in, you need to just, and it looks very reliable, just traditional like phishing thing. So actually, unfortunately, the client gives all the data himself, sometimes even the PIN code, like they would give the PIN code to their mobile app and everything. So as I was saying, the only way we found to make sure that it would balance between user experience and data is to make sure that the application is fixed to one phone device, so that no one else can actually install it and make any use of that, if I could answer the question.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's a challenge, I agree, but all I'm trying to think about is, are we trying to solve these problems using these legacy problems, using old tool sets and old approaches rather than rethinking and saying, well, since we're technology first, why don't we look at the utility of what we're giving and how do we protect that? So the example you gave was the phone number and the SMS, right?
Yeah.
So how do we eliminate that vulnerability rather than the link itself and the rest of the process that happens? I don't know the answer. I'm just
hey, and maybe Brother Yasul can help, yes?
What should be the difference between the conventional banks and the neobanks, especially conventional banks also trying to digitalize themselves? They have some like electronic bankings, mobile apps, web platforms, and etc. But they don't have the mentality of the neobanks because it's totally a different approach. And I totally agree with you. We need to design ourselves, our system, the security first or security by design structure. At this point, this kind of like phishing or this kind of some vulnerabilities, there are only one point. There are roughly maybe 30 or 40 different attractions you need to do. And unfortunately, I need to say this to understand the whole picture. The security is like a chain. And the weakness point of this chain is the human, we, as a human being. And I am trying to lead a digital security company, I am also very like targetable point and have some vulnerabilities because I have some emotions and I couldn't control myself 7 by 24 hours and etc. all these parameters we need to think about, and we need to design our system according to these specifications, and what we need to do, what we need to secure the data of the consumer, data of our systems, even against to the consumer. Because we are using the consumer's device, we couldn't control that device, but we have our own app, and this property is our property, and we need to embed the solution with our mobile apps or any web apps. And at that app, we need to take care the whole environment, security, like prerequisites and etc. Then even that consumer want to do some activities he or she couldn't do. We need to stop it. Otherwise, he or she will lose money and he will come and ask from us. Because, most of the phones, Android or iOS, right? Rather than nothing, just only small, maybe harmonious. And according to developers who are at this site, they are thinking that 81% of the developers thinking that iOS is not sufficient, 88% of that Android is not sufficient, but still developers are building their security on the operating system designs. Okay, these are the technical guys, we are belonging to them. We are thinking that, okay, this is my business, I have a good technology team, even I have a good technology team, I am believing them, I am here. They are working on behalf of me, but these are the technical guys. They couldn't see the whole picture. And because of that, we need to take that security part as an abstract part and give to some professional companies or products which is accredited by regulated bodies, like the payment card industry, PCI, like the local regulation bodies. Also to comply with the regulation. But the most important thing is our reputation. Absolutely. If we lose our reputation, or if the consumer lose also his reputation, if the data leak, then we will lose all the business. And that's the point.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for some great questions. And with that,
I want to add, just shed the light on something.
Sure.
That most of the security vulnerabilities come from the organization itself, rather than from client side, and that the level of access of employees should be managed other than putting all the percentage of work on security on the client side. And this will reduce also the vulnerabilities from inside the organization. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, and with that, I'll bring the panel to a close. Thank you, everyone. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Dear ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. My name is Merima Mahmutovic. I'm coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina as a country ambassador of European Women Payment Network, and also I'm managing business development of finance institution at Comtrade System Integration, the highest IT region company. Behind me is 12 years working experience in the banking in conventional banks in Bosnia and Herzegovina, since the Bosnia is the country where we have only one participation bank, Bosnian Bank International, and it's really hard on this market share experience and the practice of participation bank. I'm really honest to moderate today's panel, which aims to bring the current technological trend in the FinTech ecosystem and how banks adopting themselves to this new digital era. I'm really satisfied to have such respectable speakers with us, so let me to introduce them in a few words. I will start with, from my left side is in front of the FinTech companies, Dr. Sher Abbas, founder and CEO of IFIN, the first of its kind Islamic fintech that is designed to digitalize entire Islamic finance process. And he is also a co-founder of IFIAS, international consultancy specialized in Islamic finance. Dr. Abbas has over 80 years experience in finance landscape, and he is also PhD in Islamic finance Engineering from Durham University in United Kingdom. Also today with us is Dr. Selim Tastan, Head of Digital Transformation Innovation Manager at Kuwait Turk Participation Bank, and with almost 20 years working experience in the FinTech banking digital transformation. He is also PhD in Business Administration at Haliç University. Today we have also Mr. Uma Mushi, I read well, thank you, as a social entrepreneur from Singapore. He is a co-founder of ETIS Global, award-winning group of investment, and I think that presentation of the ETIS we have already seen during the previous discussions. It is the first crowdfunding platform that is regulatory approved in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Oman. And today with us is Mr. Okesh Emin Balčičak, who is the CTO of Architect International, 100% owned by Kuwait Turk Participation Bank, with almost 19 years experience in the software engineering and 13 years working in Islamic finance. He is also PhD candidate for artificial intelligence and teaching on Sakarya University of Financial Technology Management class for the last 7 years. So you see that we have today really respectable speakers, and I'm really satisfied to discuss with them. But since I could connect my working experience with banking, I will start a discussion from the Kuwait Turk Participation Bank from Mr. Selim. I know that this bank is the leading bank in the leading participation bank by the asset size in the Turkey, and strategically oriented to digital transformation. And I read that in 2014, it was the first bank on the world that implemented and introduced full digital branch with video identification, self-service operation by XTM devices. And it's really interesting product. I saw the video as well. Also, there is many other digital products that aims to improve the customer experience for the new generation. So please, could you tell us more about your FinTech onboarding process in the bank?
Okay. No, it's okay. Well, actually, Kuwait Turk Participation Bank has been a FinTech-friendly bank in Turkey, and one of the top bank. Well, actually, we are in the second place in terms of offering API services that everybody is talking about it. And we have, in the last 4 or 5 years, we have met, we have meetings, we have met more than 150 FinTech startups in Turkey. Not only the local startups, but also the global FinTech startups. And we are looking for the, basically, we want to collaborate with FinTechs with the scale-up size. Yes, the startups are welcome, but we have to think about it, you know, it's Kuwait Turk Participation Bank. It's a bank, has more than 2.5 million digital customers, over 6 million customers. So we have to think about the risk factors of the FinTech startups. So we have a FinTech onboarding process. Well, it's an approach, the framework that we designed in like 4 or 5 years ago. And first of all, we have, understand the FinTech business models. We kind of understand, have a meeting with them to understand what is their products, business model, or the services is. Then afterwards, we have organized the meetings with the business departments, and the business departments, if the business departments say, okay, well, we can work, we can collaborate with these FinTech startups, then we take it to our senior management. We call it FinTech committee, and it's a committee, the members of the committee is the executive vice president, senior management. So if they say, okay, well, let's go, let's collaborate with these FinTechs, then afterwards, we prepare partnership APIs for the FinTechs. We have different classification, categorization of the APIs, open APIs, partner APIs, that internal APIs, that is for Kuwait Participation Bank. And we have, alhamdulillah, we have onboarded more than 25 FinTech startups. They are using our open APIs, and we have collaborated with 4 or 5 different FinTech startups based on our partnership APIs. So inshallah, in January there was a regulation change in Banking Supervision Regulation Agency, and there is going to be a digital banks in Turkey, and there is going to be a BaaS, banking as a service banking. So our aim in our part of our Kuwait participation strategy is to be one of the top 3 service bank in Turkey. So we are now working on developing APIs and collaborate more fintechs accordingly.
Thank you very
Did
much.
I exceed my time?
And many data and numbers behind this speech, but okay, do you anyhow collaborate with Architect International? Both of you have some collaboration behind some technologies that are implementing since Architect International is established by the Kuwait Turk Participation Bank as a standalone IT company that providing services to the finance industry. So Mr. Okesh, maybe you could explain us your experience and how bank adopting themselves, since you have experience working now with the different banks, different participation banks in the Turkey and, as I know, worldwide.
Okay. Thank you so much, Merima, for question. I would like to say Selamun Aleyküm to everyone. Welcome into Istanbul. And I'm very glad to be here with precious audience. Yes, Merima, we are collaborating with Kuwait Turk and its owner company of the Architect. But Architect's main strategy is supporting each participation banks and other fintechs in the industry, finance sector. So Kuwait Turk has its own IT, information technology department. It's a huge department, and we also have 200 valuable digital talents to improve that kind of technologies. Now, as Architect, we are proudly serving more than 7 banks in Turkey and globally. Most of them are participation bank. The 60% of participation bank in Turkey now we are serving to their digital platforms. And some fintechs like consumer finance and the investment banking, that kind of fintechs are now collaborating with us. And in terms of digitalization of participation banks through fintech collaboration, it's the panel discussion. We are providing some technologies to reach, be successful in this collaboration. Everyone knows that there are lots of current technologies now improving, and it will improve every day. For example, we can talk about blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, NFT, digital banking platforms, hyper-automation and that kind of technologies. But today I'm going to talk about a little bit the collaboration part of these technologies. The first important one is, in my point of view, the most important one is the embedded finance. Embedded finance includes banking as a service and the open finance technologies. Now, every Islamic banks and fintechs need to have a strong digital platforms that enable to collaborate to other fintechs. And each fintech has some technologies to consume that kind of services from the banks. So, as Architect, we are in the middle of this collaboration. Now we have a solution on core banking. We have full-fledged core banking application. It also has digital channels. We have developed this product in Kuwait Turk. For your question, we have developed this this platform in the Kuwait Turk, but now we are serving the other participation banks, Islamic banks, fintechs, and financial institutions globally. So the digital banking platforms in the one side, the other side, should have fintechs, and we have additional products which name is Air API is now serving these APIs to the fintechs to enable the embedded finance to each companies. In the previous panel, some colleagues, some panelists said that every company will be a fintech company. So it is real. I believe this idea is from, it's based from Andres and Horowitz's company, as far as I know. And I believe maybe the other technologies is now, the important other technologies can be the digital customer onboarding. It's very popular in Turkey, so every banks and fintechs focused on in this year the technology and implemented it on the digital channel. The third one is low-code and no-code platforms. Maybe some people are here heard about that, but everyone now suffers for the digital talents. It's a big, huge struggle. So it's a great idea to create citizen developers to each companies to overcome create fastest digital product lifecycle. So low-code and no-code platform is good, and our product's philosophy comes from low-code and no-code. So we are creating some our enhancements natively with that philosophy. And the last one is for me is public cloud and hybrid cloud, because it's not infrastructure, it includes cognitive sciences. The most important part of the cloud is cognitive science, I believe, according to me, because cognitive science is not applicable on on-prem setups, on-prem applications, because you need lots of data and lots of the CPUs and that kind of hardwares. So the cloud is also a good focusing area. In Turkey, unfortunately, we have too much options to use public cloud, but I hope for you, the Islamic fintechs are able to reach that kind of solutions in the worldwide. But I believe in Turkey, we will use it with the migration of public cloud companies in Turkey. So for the first part, thank you so much for reserving my time. Thank you. See you.
Okay, we will have more questions. I heard some main topics that are interested to me, since the country where I come from has a lot of regulation. You mentioned onboarding and engagement of your employees. And for example, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have really big problem to keep young talents.
Yes.
How you motivate them here into Turkey? Which steps you are providing to them? Which technology they are working on? Since this fluctuation and keeping young talents, it's really big problem. Today they choose to work for some outsourced companies to develop just one part of the software or the product. And it's really big issue to the banks.
Yes, big issue for the banks and the tech companies. So is that a question for me?
Yes, just give.
So it's, for today, it's $1 million question. So it's very hard to answer, I believe, because we discussed with our team most of the time, what should we do more? Every day, the requests from the digital talents guys are increasing from the companies. What we are doing is here, now we just try to create a good company culture. Everyone knows about Great Place to Work assessment, and it is good to understand to company culture is good or not. Now we are certificated 3 times to from the Great Place to Work certificate. And the other part is you need to pay salary, good salary. Yani, we need to find some way. Somehow, it's not important. Culture is not enough for the every employee, so we need to pay good. In previous session, the Alif Bank CEO said that we had share for the employees. It's a good option. It is not, we don't have a share for stock options for the employees, unfortunately.
But it could be idea.
Yeah, it's a good tool. It's actually we discussed.
You have to talk to the parent company to give you the share of
parent company. Yeah, we discussed too much about the shares, but yeah, it's a startup culture. It's a VC culture. It's not kind of a the enterprise culture. Enterprise just look for the compensation package. But the sharing is good idea. I really strongly recommend if it's possible to Islamic fintechs.
Thank you, Mr. Okesh. Thank you very much for this comment. It was just the question that I'm interested in as well. In IFIN, you are developing instant goods in 10 minutes. How it looks like?
Thank you very much, and I appreciate actually the opportunity to be with these wonderful gentlemen and the experience they have on Islamic banking. But what we are trying to do in IFIN is to create a platform that is an enabling for Islamic banks to help them through their digitalization transformation. So a process now usually in most of the Islamic banks, and I know here in Turkey they have very pretty advanced systems, but in most of the world, around the world, to complete a deal for an Islamic finance, it will take you maybe a week. Let's say you want to finance your car. In general terms, most countries take you 2 weeks. In very good countries, it might take you 1 day, right? And that's considered very fast. And even here, if you go into a car financing, you might still find that most of the deals happening in Turkey, it's not actually instant. What we wanted to do is actually to have the entire finance process digitalized, right, as a fintech. And the beauty about it is that we can have all types of retailers in one hand, and we have all banks on the other hand. So basically creating a platform to connect everybody. Very much similar to basically lifting the entire banking system, right, and make it into a digital platform. So every single customer is getting into any store, whether physical store or online store, can walk in, choose the bank they want, and apply for that bank, and take the finance instantly, without the need to go to the branch. So what does this mean for the banks? You no longer need to open new branches. Now you have 200 branches. You don't really need to open more branches. Every single retailer become a branch for you. Now you can go to areas that you never thought of as a bank to be there, right? Why? Because a small village in a remote area, you don't have a bank there usually. Why they would open a bank for maybe 2,000 people, right? They will not open a branch there. But as long as they have retailer, now they will have access to all the banks in the country through IFIN. And that's the beauty about it. It's basically a platform that's connect all banks to all retailers, whether physical banks or online. So imagine you want to buy from IKEA, for example, or Amazon, right? Hopefully, inshallah, you will go one day on Amazon and you will find IFIN logo there at the checkout. So instead of paying just with the debit card or credit card, you click on IFIN logo, and then it will take you to our platform where you can put your ID, digitally onboarded, and get the finance from the bank you want. Whether you're buying an iPhone, for example, for $1,000, or you want to buy a Porsche for $300,000, IFIN can serve you. And that's the beauty about the relationship of a fintech with a bank. The bank doesn't have to invest anymore with these type of things, right? So you don't have to build your own system. You don't have to build it. Today we heard earlier about the Albanian bank. They actually spent time and resources to build their own system, which is fine. A lot of banks here, actually in Turkey, they did that also. And I'm sure a lot of hundreds of Islamic banks around the globe, actually, they put in resources and building. The idea is that they don't have to do this. right? So you just partner, and that's the whole idea. You just partner with the fintech, and the fintech will give you instant access. It will save you time, it saves you the resources, and it gives you the experience that the customers are looking for. Unfortunately, most of the time the banks try to create a product, they put the security first, they put the regulation first, they put the process first, the credit risk first, and then the customers comes at the end of the process. Because the customer, they take it as a given customer, right? The customer need the finance, so they will treat with him. He's gonna come, he's gonna apply whatever bad the process, you know? I'm telling you, I am actually banking with one of our banks, and I've been trying to get a credit card for over 2 months now. 2 months. On a single day, I'm in a contact with the bank, trying to get a credit card for our company. I have signed over 16 different applications with 16 different documents, and I signed them again, and I signed them again, and I still did not get a credit card for 2 months. This is banks. This is the reality of banks. So partnership with fintechs, it will help the consumers, it will help the banks because it's going to take them out of the usual thinking of all these things, as long as the fintech is done correctly. So the process is done correctly, the security, but at the same time, it gives the customer the right experience, right? The thing that is going to look for. And that's going to be the total difference. You know, in a few years' time, you're going to have hundreds of fintechs, right? But which one going to be successful is the one that's going to put the customer first, but at the same time make sure that the security, the whole process meets the regulation and works. So that's where it's going to be very challenging to choose the right fintech, to choose the right approach, to go to the market and to get to the right partnership with the banks.
Yes, it's amazing, definitely, for the I would say, new generation of the customers, millennials. But what is about older customers that are not educated, that are not, that don't use the smartphones as the new generations? For example, if we are talking about branch opening, increasing the branch network, you have many areas where the population is older or not educated to use new technology. How you solve these issues?
It's for us, any customers works on any retailer, and that's the beauty about it. You are going to buy. He's not thinking about financing. See, thinking about financing only happens when you know that you're not able to pay, right? You know that you're not gonna buy a car through your cash, so you need the financing. So you go and think about the bank first, right? Which bank I should use. But if you're going to buy maybe a laptop, right? And even if the guy is 55 years old, a little bit older than me, right? He will go, and as he's on the store, the staff in the store will ask him, would you like to have a finance? And if he say yes, all what he needs is just to give us his ID number. So there is no need for too much complicated process, too much thinking from the customer. It's an instant decision to take the finance, an instant decision to give him the finance. And I am actually worried a little bit about the millennials talking and Gen Z talking. Guys, I'm almost 52 years old and I am all banking and all digital. And why you think it's only going to be the guys who's 23 years old is going to be only banking?
It's not about years, it's about education.
We actually, our generation who's now in their 50s is the generation where FinTech started with us right now. Now the new generation are using it, but people in their 50s, they will do online banking and they do have banking apps. So I don't know why people think that's only 20 years old people will use banking
As
applications.
I mentioned, it's not about years, it's also about education.
I'm telling you, if you're talking about 80 years people, yes. 60 years people, 65 years people and down, which is actually active people, they all use online banking and they all use digital solutions. And they all have phones, smartphones, and they all have apps, and they know how to do it.
Yes, you convinced
me. So
it's
not, yes, 80 years old, maybe I will tell you they will have a struggle. But then, earlier than that, they all doing it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Abbas. So, ETIS is financial impact investment of the Islamic crowdfunding leader based in Malaysia. And it's full regulated and licenses from the Indonesia, Malaysia, and Oman. Could you please explain us how was your regulation approval process?
Oh, okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You hear me? Okay. Well, actually I have quite a lot I want to share about the topic, but regulations is important as well. And for us, essentially it was a very long process. Very long, very tedious, very painful process. But it's a necessary process. And I think for a lot of the startup founders that I met here, mashallah, there's quite a number, that is the pain that the early ones are going through. Yeah, so, I mean, just to answer your question, it's a tough, long process in general. Although I believe in recent years it's gotten easier. Like for us in Indonesia, for us in total, it was a 5-year process.
5 year?
5 year, yeah.
Okay.
So
okay, that was just a question to explain impression about this regulation, but also you could explain us how technology works in your company.
So, well, for us, maybe also linking back to the question, when we talk about FinTech, maybe we can segregate, in my mind, especially 2 types of FinTechs, right? So, one type of FinTech would be FinTech technology producers, right? They create technology, they provide technology to others, and then there's another, I guess, category or type of FinTech where they operate FinTech services. And of course you have hybrids and they cross over and they overlap. And so far I think we're talking mainly about provision of technology services, not directly operating a FinTech service or model. What we do in crowdfunding is we are a FinTech operator. We don't develop new technology. We assemble or we adopt technology that's already there. Our team can assemble it, or we can work with partners to bring in new technologies, right? Now, related to the banks and the digitalization of banks, I feel the big opportunity, of course what we've talked about is very important, digitalizing what the bank already is. But beyond that, what I feel is where the opportunity lies, is where banks can have extended different capabilities by working with FinTech operators who are doing new business models, new innovations, new solutions, and this would benefit both sides. I think that's where the API model comes in, right? That's where you work closely with other providers. So I believe for countries that maybe catching up in the world of FinTech, which is most of the Muslim world, we have a lot we can learn from looking at how and the mistakes and the good things that countries like Singapore, parts of the West, Hong Kong and so on, what they've done right and what they have not done right. So that's where we have an opportunity to actually do it much faster. Yeah. So I'll keep it short and sweet. That's just a few points I wanted to highlight so we can continue the conversation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ruma. For example, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, I ask about regulation. We will continue with regulation about Kuwait-Turk Participation Bank. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, there is still no regulation that will allow video identification or biometric authentication, and there is still no laws that will approve e-sign, electronic signature, and that makes some really bad impact on the developing FinTech ecosystems and the possibility to digitalize entire economic and the finance. But in Turkey, that regulation has been approved 1.5 years ago, and the Kuwait-Turk Participation Bank was the leading bank that adopted digital services to the new regulation. Could you please tell us what is your strategic approach to being as a service bank for the FinTech?
Yeah, when we look at globally, we see the FinTech ecosystems, especially in US, States, UK and European Union, they are very strong, and Asia Pacific as well. They are very strong FinTech ecosystems. When we look at the Turkish FinTech ecosystem is growing, is maturing. Well, yeah, we have seen a number of FinTech startups in Turkey, and they are, recently, we also got a decacorn, and one of our startups, Getir, You know it, as you know it. It's almost more than 10 billion US dollar valuation. So, I must thank Turkish Banking Supervision and Regulation Agency. In last 2 years, they made a great job in terms of making regulation changes and facilitating fintech startups, making them easier to start up, to initiate their startups and collaborate the fintechs. And I must tell that the Turkish retail banking is one of the most advanced in the world. We are using latest technology and edge technologies, and we are, as the banks, we are giving a more customer-oriented experience to the customers. And I have seen, I graduated universities in US, and also I was in Germany for 3 years. The Kuwait Turk has established a bank over there. I have seen these markets. And I must tell that Turkish market, Turkish financial sector is one of the best one. I can tell you that in terms of using the latest technologies. FinTech startup hasn't there yet, but after this regulation changes made by the Turkish Banking Regulation Agencies, Central Bank, now end of this year, banks, top 10 banks in Turkey, they are preparing APIs, payment APIs, and they will give this APIs to the API aggregated, we call it BKA, Interbank Agency, and afterwards we will do account information service provider, APIs, and the payment directives, is same as the PS2 in European Union payment service directives. So end of this year, inshallah, we're gonna make this happen. And we also, as a Kuwait Turk, has prepared our APIs, 9 APIs, in order to collaborate with other banks and the Central Bank of Turkey. And for being a service bank or being a BaaS provider or banking as a service or a platform, banking as a platform provider, we have over 120, 130 APIs in our sandbox, and we have more than 25, 30 APIs in operational. And we are going to, being a service BaaS provider, our target, our audience, our customers is going to be different. Like, for example, we focus on retail, and also we're gonna focus on corporate, and especially agricultural financing, and one of the areas that we focus, we're gonna prepare our APIs, and we're gonna collaborate with fintech startups in the agricultural sector. And we also have some companies that we are meeting now, we are having meetings in the retail sectors as well. So again, one of the really leading bank in participation, among the participation bank, but also as a Kuwait Turk, with the support of our technology firm, Architect, we are also, our aim to be one of the top service provider bank in Turkey, offering more APIs to fintech startups in different sectors.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Salim. It's really, I will confirm the statement that the Turkey market is definitely more developed for participation bank, as well as for the other banks, I would say, for conventional banks, since I'm coming from the European market and have experience working with the conventional bank. I'm definitely sure that this collaboration with the fintech, this design customer-oriented products could be a really good competitive advantage to participation bank. And it's really a pleasure to hear all your experience today. I would give a few questions maybe to audience, please.
Thank you so much. This has been really informative. I have so many questions, but I will keep it short. I'll ask Mr. Okesh a question. I'll ask Mr. Salim if possible. So well, my first half question is, so you're saying, is that having a ping pong table and baby foot is not enough to attract good talent?
Actually not enough, yes.
No, actually, I wanted to ask you about the challenge with the fact that most of the technology knowledge base is in English, and how that reflects for the Turkish engineers that maybe sometimes, you know, might struggle with finding good solutions in English. Is that a challenge that you see on the ground with the engineering teams?
For us, it's not a challenge for us because we are hiring top 10 university in Turkey, so most of our engineer has no problem about English, understanding English, I mean resources, books, blogs, and that kind of thing. And technology, I mean the English of the technology is very little. I mean it's very narrow scope, so it's not important for our guys to develop in English technologies.
It's a machine language.
It's a machine language, yes.
They understand.
Sometimes they are asking what is in Turkish. So yeah, it's no problem.
Well, actually, I might add to Ökeş, it's hard to find the tech talent, not only in Turkey and globally in different countries, because this COVID-19 has changed a lot of things in the working sector, especially remote working options. For example, we are losing some tech talent. They are working for companies, US companies, European companies at the remote locations. They are working in Turkey and they are making, they are getting their salary in US dollar or euro. You know, it's very hard because Turkish lira has lost its value against US dollar and also different currencies. So it's really profitable deal for them. So we are losing it, but in terms of the language is not a barrier for them. English, because it's all technology documentation. When you do programming, it's, you know, resources are all available in English. So they must understand, they must evaluate in English.
And thank you. It's a kind of joke, but it's
to sign up our API portal, then you can use our APIs.
Okay.
It's very accessible.
Okay, we will conclude this discussion. Thank you very much for your time. Many interesting facts.
There is another question.
Oh, more question. Okay.
I
Just
think
one question.
I think we have to kind of close because we're going to be above the time. But خلاص, 2 seconds.
May I ask my question?
Okay, تفضل, very quickly.
With just one sentence, bank definitely dying, and bank are starting to be.
They are not dying. They are just changing.
They will be in the future IT company with banking license.
If they don't change, they will die. Those banks who don't change, they will die.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
For everyone staying here. It was a very long day, and I'm so pleased after a very great panel discussion, after a great women leader. It was really enjoyable. So, as also in the real sector, as Takaful market, we are coming behind the banking industry. After the participation banking industry, like insurance industry is coming after banking industry here in Turkey. So it's really great pleasure for me to moderate this panel. Thank you so much, Elmangos Ventures, for organizing this event here in Turkey, which is a developing market as well for Takaful. After 2 times in Malaysia, which is very well known for the Takaful market. So it's a really great pleasure. And I have great speakers for this topic as well. So before introducing our distinguished speakers, I would like to quickly give you a brief what we do at the Digital Insurer. So I'm Ebru Çetin, an actuary by profession, and I work for reinsurance, Takaful and insurance market. And I am also software developer. I studied actuarial science and now working for the Digital Insurer. We are working together with the industry to accelerate the digital transformation of the insurance market, together with all stakeholders with our services TDI Academy for people transformation, to help take human skills into the future, And we have a TDI Connect to connect like-minded people for business purpose. And we have tech services as well to deliver latest innovation to the insurance market, both for Takaful and conventional market. So today, one of the innovators of the Takaful market is here with us. Dr. Mohammed Onur Gautam is an Islamic finance expert and active Sharia board member and external Sharia auditor of multi-sectoral international financial institutions and Islamic FinTech as well. He is currently the CEO and co-founder of the Payday Takaful. We have also another great actuary, my elder brother from Marmara University Actuarial Science, Assistant Professor Dr. Hakan Aslan, Director of Research Center of Islamic Economics and Finance. Dr. Hakan, I would like to start with you about your opinions on Takaful landscape, global presence, and Takaful models, market share worldwide and in Turkey as well, because it's a newly growing market in Turkey. We have only 12 Takaful operators as per the data from the Turkish Insurance Association. And so what is your opinion from the academic point of view, since we don't have a lot of theory, practice currently, so it will be great to hear your opinions from the theory perspective.
Okay, thank you, Ebru, for giving me the word. So I can start with the Takaful industry. Actually, compared to the Islamic finance, it's relatively very small by asset size. So considering that approximately we have $3 trillion asset size for Islamic finance globally and approximately $65 billion for the Takaful industry, it's around 2%. But when we look at the compound annual growth by years, it's actually last 5 years it's around 5.7%, and it's expected because the recent COVID-19 it's negatively affected some of the globally the Takaful industry as well as the insurance industry. On the other hand, when we look at for the prospects, it's expected within 5 to 10 years the annual growth for 13 to 14%. So it's actually a very promising sector. When we look at Turkey, compared to the participation banks has around 40 years experience and 40 years practice in the Turkey. However, Takaful sector started like 2010, around 10 to 12 years background. Besides that, the regulatory framework started in 2017. So compared to the participation banks, it's just very, how to say this, just a few years compared to participation banks. But when we compare the growth, the asset size of the participation banks taking from the banking sector, it's 6 to 7% recently. And however, the Takaful industry reached that numbers within 5 years. So it's very promising for the sector. On the other hand, when we come to the FinTech side, so what's related to the Takaful industry, so we need to see what kind of challenges that we are facing in the Takaful industry. First of all, there's a quite big divergence between the theory and the practice, because what we promote Takaful industry, we say Takaful is the risk-sharing model. However, when we come to the practice, when we cannot segregate the funds and we cannot give a business entity to segregated funds, so it became diverged from the theory. In the theory, it has to be segregated, but in practice becoming from risk sharing to risk shifting. So what does financial technology promote us? As we see, we didn't see coming from the Islamic financial industry at first, it's coming from the West again, and peer-to-peer insurance models. Peer-to-peer insurance models, actually the exact model for the Takaful industry, which is based on the risk sharing. On the other hand, we have another problem for the human capital. We need to adopt this new technology and promote for the business. And if you're talking about Turkey, from the customer perspective, 80% of the insurance customers getting their insurance from the agents. But now we are having Generation Z. They are adopted with the technology. They are looking for the market. They need to see the mobile apps, they need to compare the products. They don't go to agents to talk about the products, and they need to, and insurance Takaful sector needs to adopt new technology for implement their products. This is a very huge gap. And actually, these models affecting, and we can change from this divergence between theory to practice, we can implement again risk-sharing models. That's what I can say briefly.
Definitely. We had only 8 Takaful operators actually, 4 of them newly established, and we hope that those will be very innovative because that we can fill the gap.
One more thing I can add actually. Currently there's 8 Takaful companies, and I heard that 4 to 6 companies on the head, or some of them already were practicing as a Windows, but they are establishing new entities. Because of the current regulation they will implement, they have to restricting the Islamic finance windows for the Takaful industry. On the other hand, we have new regulation which announced as Turkey model by the regulatory authority of Turkey, and they said we don't need to implement Takaful for the participation insurance. We just need to implement, because in the theory for the, which is started 1950s, the discussion between whether we consider the contract of insurance as a new contract or we need to compare with the other contracts. So the new regulation, they says if you want to implement Takaful, you're welcome. If you want to implement other models, you're also welcome. So it's enabling other models to implement it. I assuming that there's actually no official announcement, but maybe in the soon future, they will also make some new developments for the enabling peer-to-peer insurance model, other kind of implemented models for the Takaful industry as well by the regulators.
Definitely. We saw a lot of actually innovative insurtech solutions globally, and it is not TakafulTech, but we can simply see that the model behind is currently Takaful Wakala fee model.
Yes.
For example, Lemonade in US, they use the Takaful model, but this is actually where we come. We switch the mindset of the insurance people to the digital future. But before that, Takaful industry needs to be trained. As I know that you have a work for that to be certified. If you want to be an insurance Takaful employee, so you have to be certified.
Current regulation in Takaful industry in Turkey, they said if you want to be working in the Takaful industry, you have to be certified, which enables to 36 hours training. It takes 6 days. I think even including the CEOs of the Takaful companies has to take this certificate to continue their work in the current regulation. So this is also a very good initiative. I think it's the first time I see any regulatory authority forcing, if I'm correct, maybe not correct term, I'm not sure, but forcing the Takaful industry to increase their human capacity and learning the real models, what you're doing, and you need to learn about the real basis of that. So this is actually a good initiative. So we have more human capacities increased by knowing what kind of models we are working on it. So I think it's very good feature we are waiting for the Takaful industry in Turkey especially.
Definitely. As per the numbers of Turkish Insurance Association, there are, at the end of February 2022, there are only 41 people certified for Takaful compliant trainings, and then we are hoping them to be digitized as well with our TDI Academy programs. And thank you so much for your theory insights. I also want to ask you, Mr. Mohammed, because you are developing a TakafulTech, and how do you see, but your product as also is a financial well-being product, how do you see the correlation between them? And then can you please give us, because today conventional insurance model is adopting technology more than ever before. So how do you see that TakafulTech can fill the gap to compete the conventional insurance market?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you for all this explanation. I have another issue related to Takaful that is hidden a bit. Once you develop any technology solution, so you are diving into the operational and into even the sales on how Takaful operator today sell their products. There is a big dilemma, which is the dependency of the Takaful operator on the banking services. And I would love that this panel came before the discussion on the open banking, because I'm talking about how the TakafulTech is shifting the entire model from the open banking to the open finance. And this is the smart tool of TakafulTech today. So the dependency of the Takaful operator on the banking services, they are, putting them in a critical situation in a way they cannot reach or outreach untapped market and untapped clients. I'm talking about, for example, the unbankable people. I'm talking about the low-income employees who are not welcomed in the mainstream banking system and even in the Islamic banking system due to the certain fit and proper criteria and etc. So those people, how to include them if you don't use an open finance sphere? When I say open finance, so within the sphere of the technology means I'm talking about the data and the services beyond the banking level, means covering, for example, the insurance, covering the pensions, covering the QIC, in a way to design the right model that englobing unbanked and unbanked people, lower income people and high net worthy people. Today the TakafulTech is a very important tool to reimagining the financial inclusion of the entire ecosystem. How? Today the unbanked people, they represent a very critical number. 2/3 of them have a smartphone. So why don't we give them an access to digital services beyond the banking services through the TakafulTech, and this is our solution by Takaful. They don't need to go through credit check. They don't need to adhere to the condition of the banks and all these critical conditions and criteria which are boundaries for those people to enter into the financial system. How to shift these people from getting certain extreme measures to go to the shark loans provider who's borrowing in a very expensive way. This is done through the open finance methodology of this big sphere and through TakafulTech. And through TakafulTech, we can reimagine the financial inclusion in a very smart way.
Do you mean that you provide micro-insurance, micro-Takaful to your end customers within your payday Takaful?
Yes, going now to payday Takaful, and when I say payday Takaful, this the discussion from the heart. Why? Because it is based on a noble objectives. Our objective is to provide well-being, financial well-being, and to preserve the dignity of those who are in a low situation. When you are a low-income employee, you have no choice. You have a financial distress. You have to pay for the hospital. You have a big problem, family issues before the payday. What to do except either to get indebted in a high interest rate, or you have to say to ask people to give you, or to ask your employer, which usually it's rejected due to the financial and administrative burden impacting the cash flow of the employer. So today we are preserving the dignity of those people. In a way, we give them a tailored solution composed by a micro Takaful coupled with a financial tailored solution, giving them an access to their earned wage before the payday. So they can easily get access before, on the 15th of the month, for example, they need cash. They get whatever they need, not upper or more than they need as an interest rate, for example, to be paid for the shark loans or for the banks. So we don't use credit check. There is no credit check. There is no all these barriers. Everything is fully digital. You are an employee onboarded. Your employer has to approve that you are onboarded, approve your request on advance, on instant based, or initially there is two systems to be integrated within the platform, the web platform, and the employee has an access to his salary. So instead of having an access to a loan bucket to a salary, interest rate-based loan. So in a way, any employee here, he feels financially secured. He became more motivated to work in a way, so that his employer benefit from all these services, which is free services we provide to the employer. The employer has just to onboard his employee in a smart way, and the employee, after that, the reimbursement of the advance taken during the month will be automatically from the employer pay system. So it is very hybrid. easy to use, friendly system using the TakafulTech under the space of the open finance, not the open banking.
So coming from the discussion of the previous panel, that we can say your solution can be a benefit for also employees to attract more to the companies, I mean.
Of course, our first contact after negotiating with the insurance, the Takaful operator, to design the suitable package, the suitable bundle for all these employees, then we move to discuss with the employer. We sign a contract, we partner with the employer, whether a public instance or a private instance. For example, in Tunisia, we're going to launch, inshallah, after Ramadan. So we are now moving with a public, very high public instance to onboard 65,000 employees. So once we sign with them, so all the employees automatically receive on their smartphone a link, or through their email, they download the app, and they start using the app. All the QIC is done automatically from the employers, because we don't need a credit check. Who gonna guarantee the payment at the end? The employer will cut the advance at the end of the month from the monthly wage of the employee, and to be paid directly to the financial institution who gonna provide the advance on payment. So it's very free from burden, neither administrative nor financial burden for the employee nor the employees.
So can we say that you are an intermediary between banks, insurers, and also the end customers to provide the insurance solutions as well?
Yes, we are designing the model in a way to push ahead the micro Takaful. So you cannot get an access to your salary as long as you are not subscribed into a Takaful bundle. So your subscription to a Takaful bundle, which is the first step once you get onboarded on the platform, is your access to your salary. So you are covered in case of disability, so the advance is covered. So in case of layoff, you have extra, salary. In case of any other problem, there is a complementary pension. So it depends on the bundle. So we design a suitable package as per the country, as per the circumstances. We have many Takaful operators that can, adhere, they can be onboarded as a partner. So it is another digital marketing tool for them to expose their products. It's an open space, it's a marketplace where employees have an access to their earned wage and certain services like insurance, but perhaps later on another additional services, or as well the employer get right from all this painful thinking and challenges, which is the workforce stability and the productivity.
So I have two questions. First, Takaful first model, how it works, from the onboarding process. And customers come to you first, or you just partner with insurance companies, Takaful operators?
Very good question. We are B2B firstly. We partner with the insurance. After we design the package, we onboard the package within the app. Once we partner with the employer, we sign the contract with the employer, so the employer will onboard all his employees in a fully digital manner. They have a web application, a web platform, where he can onboard, where he can configure even the rate, the limit, and the upper ways they can get an access to, for example, 50% of the salary, when he can get this access after 7 days or 10 days of work, and to secure that the employee is still active with this company. So there is a digital process to be controlled by the employer as well, in addition to, of course, another analytical or other services provided like AI and BI to be benefited from later on.
So two questions actually. One is, do you have any GDPR restrictions? And the other is, how do you connect technologically to banks or insurance companies to their legacy system?
Very good. We don't have any GDPR as long as we are not adherent to the credit check, first of all. So with the bank, we have two ways. For example, in Tunisia, our first partner is not willing to connect through the API, given their core banking system, which is under progress and under upgrade. So it can be done manually, and phase 2, it can be through API. In Oman, for example, with Oman Takaful, there is automatic, interface through API.
So what kind of insurance coverage do you provide through the application?
So it depends. So there is packages, more, for example, silver, diamond, and platinum. Under every package there is, for example, coverage against any disability, any layoff, a complementary pension. In case of death, there is funeral, funeral coverage. So it depends on the offer of the insurers. We are trying to keep our offer very low cost. It's a micro insurance, micro takaful, and and a simple insurance. I would like to add something as complementation to what you have said in the Turkish environment. We are willing as well to onboard conventional insurance. Why? This is an opportunity for them to, adhere to the Islamic, finance product in a way that payday takaful today can be an opportunity for conventional insurance to open a totally digital window. Of course, we have to respect some other conditions of segregation of funds, etc. But for them, it is an easy access to them to get adherent to the Islamic finance products.
Thank you very much. So I would like to lastly ask your opinions from the regulation.
I just have bad news for you, because recent regulation just forbids the window operations for the commercial insurance in the Takaful sector in Turkey. Just want to remind that. And another point I want to say, we have very less initiatives for Takaful sector, like FinTech, Takaful FinTech initiatives. I just heard there was one attempt for Vigorta. They started to practice, still working on it, but still couldn't proceed for I think maybe there's still progress taking. But we need more initiatives for them started for this kind of operations. On the other hand, when you mention about micro takaful, there's one more point I want to add. We have a Karl Hassan-based microfinance institution in Sakarya, as we started as academicians, so we are giving for the low salary people for up to 10,000 Turkish lira, but we couldn't find any beneficial coverage for them in the takaful markets in Turkey. So we wanted to combine our microfinance practices with the micro takaful. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it. Maybe in the future, if they increase their more attempts, there are more opportunities, more initiatives, so we can have this more practices in the field, inshallah.
Inshallah. So let's hope that this panel will be a starting point, and then market will be ready for it. Thank you so much for your time. And if there is any question from the audience, please. Questions. If you have more questions, you can visit their booth outside and connect us on social media.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Barakallahu
Thank
feekum.
you so much.
We have our last
final session. ختامها مسك. Inshallah, we have 3 wonderful panelists who will be joining us in this session. Our brother Ahmed Yunus, Dr. Davud Salim, and Dr. Mu'taz, and Alhamdulillah. And so I will be moderating. You have to listen to me a bit more after hosting. Now I'm moderating as well. So my name is Ashraf Gomali, and I'm very excited about moderating this session, particularly the area that I've been focusing on in my Sharia advisory is the intersection between Islamic finance and sustainability, or particularly how we can use Islamic finance to make things better for people, how we can create things that are beautiful for people. And I think one of the big tools that we're looking at is blockchain to do that. So I think, inshallah, the biographies of all of our esteemed panelists are available on the website. So I won't go into it. Each one is very esteemed in their own right. But let me just jump into it. And I want to start with Dr. Mu'taz. And Dr. Mu'taz is, one of his specialties is FinTech and blockchain and technology. And particularly ISRA and INSEF have been doing a lot of work around social finance and how to use blockchain in that space. And I know also Dr. Mu'taz has published some papers around zakah and blockchain. So maybe Dr. Mu'taz, you can share with us your thoughts, your initial thoughts on blockchain and social finance.
Thank you very much, Brother Ashraf. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Thank you very much, and thanks for Elmangos to organize this event in a very lovely city, very energetic. Yes, so jumping right away to that topic, blockchain and particularly the social finance. I mean, though blockchain was known thanks to the crypto, but we need always to keep in mind that blockchain is not crypto. Blockchain is a technology that enables everything. So in principle, in essence, a blockchain is a technology. It's a registry of transactions and assets. And by transactions, we mean any type of transactions and not necessarily financial. And by assets also, it could be tangible, intangible, all type of assets. So it's not necessarily the application of blockchain, not necessarily defined or constrained to the crypto. And in fact, this is not just a futuristic vision, it's already in place, and there are already applications in the health tech and agri-tech and all aspects. And when it comes to the social finance, for me, I see there is a natural link between blockchain and social finance. Because if we look to the blockchain, the basic features of blockchain, we see that blockchain has some promises in terms of bringing trust and security and traceability of data. And also one very important aspect of it, which I'm very fascinated with, that it can provide this kind of transparency, but at the same time you can keep privacy. In a way, once the data is captured, since in blockchain the data is captured online and is stored in distributed ledger accessible to the full nodes, so transparency to a certain extent is guaranteed. The governance is there, of course with a well-designed blockchain solution, but at the same time you can keep your sensitive data either off blockchain, or you can even encrypt it using the cryptography feature of it. And that's in one side, that's the features of blockchain, promises of blockchain. And if we look to the social finance, we see in all type of social finance, whether it's a charity, sadaqah, or zakat, waqf, all of these institutions, what we are trying to do in these institutions is to help channeling the funds from those who are capable to those who are in need. And because it's not efficient for those who has the money to identify themselves, those people who are in need, we need this kind of intermediary. But when we look to the application, we see a lot of challenges. And when we go to the literature, we see trust is the biggest challenge for institutions. Studies has shown that there is decreasing trust in institutions, regardless whether social or not, there is decreasing trust. So it's a very important challenge for anyone who works in this sector, how they can ensure that trust. And what they need to do is to ensure some kind of governance, transparency, and also to show traceability of the funds and show the people the impact. And this is a very important also, again, aspect, because people, once they feel and they see where their contribution is going to, they will be more encouraged to contribute more, and the trust in this institution will increase. So naturally you see a link between this social finance, the challenges of social finance, and the promises of blockchain. And here where we can connect both of them together, but of course subject to designing a well-designed solution, because at the end of the day it's just a technology. But let me stop by here because we have shorter time. Maybe we can go later into the challenges and other aspects.
Barakallahu feekum. Thank you so much, Dr. Mu'taz. I want to move to our brother Ahmed Yunus. And you've been doing a lot of work in tokenization. And I think this is one of the promises of blockchain and tokenization is this financial inclusion. You know, you can own a piece of skyscraper in Manhattan, and you have a little piece of it, and it's a coin, and you can get returns from it, and then you can sell it when you need to. These types of things. I know you have a platform in that space, so I would like to hear from you also about this tokenization and kind of the work that you're doing, and how do you think the future looks?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And assalamu alaikum. So tokenization is actually one of the blockchain applications that is recently gone popular, especially in the DeFi space. When you say tokenization, it's actually making a security out of asset, whether it's tangible or intangible. You can also have that security or the token on something that is fungible or non-fungible. So fungible is something that is that can be replaceable. For example, if I take some water from the bottle, whether it's now from the top or the bottom, assuming it's fully homogeneous, I just can, replace it with that. So it applies to gold, natural resources mostly, and other stuff like shares. So non-fungible tokens on the other side is like what we hear today as NFTs. And it's becoming popular in the artwork and gaming and other applications. So when you have a piece of art, let's say, you cannot replicate that 100%. So you have like a very unique asset to that. So when we look at that from the Islamic finance perspective, how can that be applied? Islamic finance is known to be a finance that is built on real economy, real assets. Unlike conventional finance where you have, you sell debts, you do fractional reserve, it's not connected to the real economy. So since it's asset-backed, it can utilize and leverage the full potential of tokenization, whether it's tokenization of gold, of real estate, of anything, any asset you can think of, even tangible or intangible. And many people ask, okay, what other applications on NFTs has to do with Islamic finance? We see like CryptoPunks and strange artwork, selling for millions. But if we look beyond that, we can utilize this for selling, patents, for selling copyright, for selling even waqf. You can make waqf as an NFT, for example, because you have a certain things that are not alike in the market. And the most, the core concept of tokenization is democratization. How can you democratize the financial market? By enabling access, by selling a fraction, like what you said, of something that is very small. If you have like a real estate project, let's say someone who's a developer trying to build a commercial tower in Istanbul, for example, all of the regulations now and how things are set up, you cannot invest unless you have like 100,000 maybe dollars as a minimum entry. But if you can make tokenization applied for this project, you can have a fraction of that and invest in that. So imagine if you have many assets that can be sold and bought with a high liquidity in the market. You can just have a portfolio of assets that are by default Sharia compatible because it's asset backed, it's real economy. You're not buying derivatives, for example. And this means that anyone can just with $100 or even less can have a basket of of different assets that can appreciate in value over time, that are redeemable sometimes. For example, gold, like the panel in the morning where they're applying tokenized gold. And it's not only theory, as people keep on talking about. We see this in the field. This is what the platform Token Bench is doing. We're aggregating all the assets in the market, the tokenized assets. So whether you want to see what tokenized assets are available from which asset classes, you can just go to the website, see gold, silver, different types of precious metals, real estate, even with the STO security token offerings like equity, which is something really that has a real huge potential in Islamic finance, where you can tokenize the equity of small businesses, of startups, and sell it to everyone. And we're seeing this actually applied in Germany, for example, where they do a special structure with a special purpose vehicle to hold some of the equity and then sell it as a token.
Because, mashallah, Dr. Yavuz is involved in the VC space as well as in the media space. And I think his latest venture is related to crowdfunding. So we'd like to hear from you about what promise blockchain offers for the crowdfunding world.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I want to thank you first and foremost to Elmangos Ventures and my dear moderator doing an amazing job since the morning. Let's give a round of applause to our brother first, please, together. Thank you for the hard work. Very patient, did an amazing job throughout the morning, mashallah. And you know, I think two brothers already mentioned really very important points. You know, the tokenization and the value of blockchain as a technology. At the end, when we say halal finance, I specifically use the word halal finance because halal finance gives options for Muslims as well as non-Muslims. If you're a Jewish person, you're not supposed to deal with riba if you're working with another Jewish person. So halal finance is the way for the entire world, for the entire humanity. With that in perspective, crowdfunding platforms are extremely important. When you go back with Muhammad Yunus and continue, you know, the Nobel laureate where he actually did impact in the Bangladeshi society and then moved to the 2007 crisis, how the world has changed. And from 2012 to 2020, when you see the volume of crowdfunding from $12 billion to $120 billion, this is also a very important growth because at the end, even this pandemic has shown us the value of every person is so important. And when you look at it, finance is not done in the ivory towers in high-level areas anymore. Every person is accessing remotely and able to actually easily fund their ideas and easily able to actually create growth opportunities. When we look at the Turkey space, Turkey has become probably the leader of halal finance in the world with the most recent changes in regulations. I want to applaud the Capital Market Board in Turkey as well as the Presidential Office, what they have done. Starting 2015, the VC fund changes. New regulations, what United States did in the 70s, Turkey has done in 2015. And then under the Capital Market Board, we have amazing portfolio management companies all around the world. There is the boom of venture capital funds now in Istanbul. And why I'm highlighting VCs, any of us here, when you now check the Capital Market Board applications, there are 16 companies applied to become a crowdfunding platform in Turkey. So the crowdfunding platform, the value of it is much, much higher than what it means for Turkey, is much higher compared to United States or Europe. And when you look at it, now out of these 16 applications, 7 of them are approved. There are 3 under testing. And you will see the huge boom of the participation of the Turkish population into the crowdfunding platforms over the next 3 years, 5 years as we talk. So we have many banks who applied to become a crowdfunding platform. Why would a bank apply to become a crowdfunding platform? I would ask all of you. There are bank owners here from Albania, like the CEO, and many other international bankers. They see the potential. So please remember, if you forget everything in this discussion, the crowdfunding platforms will be the future of Islamic and halal finance in Turkey. Why? Now it's a 3-legged stool. We have the crowdfunding platform, angel investors network, and the VC funds. So what we do, because we're so close to the startup ecosystem, as they continue to scale up, since the Turkish ecosystem is booming in Istanbul, we have 6 unicorn. The Turkish government has a goal of 10 unicorn, what we call Turkorn, $1 billion valuation company by 2023. I expect at least 3 or 4 more just this year. So I think that target will be overachieved. Utilizing these crowdfunding platforms is a way to use Turkey's own power. So you are able to, you may have no money as a Muslim or as a person, but you have a great idea. Where do you go? You come to us. You say, Dr. Yavuz, can I apply in Fonkolay? I will say, yeah, go ahead, apply Fonkolay once it is capital market approved. You come up, whether you have a minimal viable product or not. We have a strategy of 90% will have MVP with one, at least receipt, and continue for global growth, post with great teams, You know, there has to be several areas, including FinTechs. There are several criteria, but you may have such a brilliant idea. You can raise $1.5 million in maybe 2 hours through our platform. So it's all about, like the brother said, democratizing.
Expected there. So, you know, the way these are regular, maybe, you know, they don't earn very much, but they have jobs, right? And when they go into the payday lender, the customer experience with the inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. Thank you so much. Thank you all the wonderful presenters today. Thank you for all of you for making this such a wonderful event. And I think we are going to close the event.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mansi, are you going to say any words of farewell?
Okay. So we can step down.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Ya Allah. Enjoy Istanbul.
Such an amazing, productive day. And thank you for attending, for those who are here in person and for those who are joining us and has been really patient with us online. Thank you very much. I'm proud to say that today's event was attended by over 700 participants online on Zoom, and we have an over 135 person physically here, and this is really interesting for me. You know, really thank you very much. Thank you for the flexibility as we move things around to accommodate our speakers, and I guess this is the nature of our, you know, the nature of the time and space we're living in. We're here today